What's up, guys? AJ Holland here, owner of Doc's Fitness, which is a kettlebell gym located in a beautiful beach town of southern New Jersey. Today, we're going to be discussing the 40-pound kettlebell from Kettlebell Kings. More specifically, answering two questions: who it's for and what are its uses. The first question I find to be a little bit on the easier side, because I believe whether you've been practicing with kettlebells for 10 days or 10 years, you're gonna find value out of this particular bell. More specifically, this video, because we're gonna go into detail of how the 40-pound kettlebell can be utilized. So, to give you a little bit of a layout of this vid, first I'm gonna discuss a foundational move that every beginner needs to learn. And I'll showcase some tips, some tricks, some how-tos, some how-not-tos, do this particular move. Next, I'm gonna go over the Tweener Bell and how the 40-pound kettlebell falls into the category of a Tweener Bell, and why it's important for any individual who's been practicing with kettlebells should have this particular size bell in their garden. And then finally, I'm gonna go into detail of a lower body kettlebell warm-up that I use on a regular basis. And as a bonus, I'll showcase two of my favorite core movements that I use with the 40-pound kettlebell. It is a good looking bell. All right, so let's get things rolling. Oh, okay. I don't suggest anybody ever doing that. That only took about 30 takes. All right, so what we're gonna be discussing now is the foundational move for every beginner with kettlebells, all right, which is the Kettlebell Dead. We got our bell. I'm going to show you how to do the Kettlebell Dead. All right, let me try it again. Hold on. There we go. No again, okay? So, obviously those are two exaggerated errors or wrong ways to do the Kettlebell Dead. And those are two very common errors that I tend to see with a lot of new students. So when learning anything, it's kind of common sense, but you need to have an idea of a checklist, okay? So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a breakdown of the checklist that I like to go through when coaching my students, especially beginners, the Kettlebell Dead, but also just a pre-snap read, a checklist for myself. So, first things first, I want to stand over the bell. Have that bell in the midsection of your feet. Step two, taking the hands, karate chopping the hips back, okay? When you're in this position, you're gonna have nearly vertical shins, but more importantly, you're finding the angle, okay? The greater than symbol, as a lot of people like to reference. And what I mean by that is your knees underneath your hips are underneath your shoulders. So you're creating that side V, okay? Next step is grip and rip. A lot of people, what you'll see is rounded spine when you're in this position. How to combat that? Think about, ooh, my legs are on fire right now, I'm gonna stand. Think about having a stack of $100 bills. Lock it in those armpits, okay? And as you do that, okay, you also want to think about ripping that bell in half. When you rip that bell in half, you're going to essentially turn those lats on. And you're going to be squeezing that bell nice and tight, okay? So again, once you're gripping it, rip that bell in half. When you're in this position too, think of somebody pressing up against your kneecaps on either side. So you're driving those knees outward, and that's gonna turn your legs on. So again, grip, rip, and then the final step, once everything's engaged, one quick inhale, stand tall, exhale it up. When you're at the top of your dead, okay, we're not shooting those hips forward, we're not with that rounded, weak spine. Nice proud chest, standing tall, flexing your glutes, quads, and core, okay? one reference, I forget who told me, but sounds nuts, I know, but think of a walnut in your butt crack, and you're trying to crack that walnut. I know it's nuts. But, so again, as we go through it, think of that checklist, okay? Step 1, stand over the bell. Step 2, karate chop the hips. Checking those angles. Step 3, grip and rip. Step 4, stand tall, flexing at the top. As we go down, we're not bending those knees forward. We're pulling those hips back and reversing how we got up. And that is the Kettlebell Dead. Next up, we're going to be discussing the Tweener Bell. All right, so let's dance. Next order of business, we're going to be going through the 40-pound kettlebell as a Tweener Bell and discussing what that means. Okay, so over here, I have the Kettlebell King 16K, which is right around 35 pounds. On this side, I have the Kettlebell Kings 20K, which is 44 pounds. Now, when you're looking at this visual, you can kind of see a big discrepancy in size, right? So this is the same visual that a lot of my students, whether they're new or they've been practicing with me for years, tend to see sometimes when it goes from jumping one size bell up to the next, okay? So as a coach, you might see these two bells sit next to each other and you don't see that much of a discrepancy, right? But again, this creates a little bit of a visual that some students may see. So how do we combat that when going up in, let's just say, our snatches, our kettlebell snatches, going from a 16K, which is 35 pounds, up to a 20K, 44 pounds, might be a bit of a jump, okay? Which is where we introduce the Tweener Bell. And one particular Tweener Bell that I love to use in my practice, but also with my students, is the 40 pounder. Yep, you guessed it. Boom. Boom. Now, that jump from here to here is a whole lot less intimidating, right? So, if you find yourself stuck here with the number of moves, but want to get here, but are also a little bit too intimidated to make that jump from there to there, then maybe it's worth discussing having a bell in between, like a 40 pounder. All right, I think I had way too much fun creating this presentation. Next up, getting back to the moves, going to show you my lower body warm-up that I love using on a regular basis with the 40 pounder. Stay tuned. All right, here's one of my go-to lower body warm-ups that I love using with the 40 pounder, okay? You could scale this down with a lighter bell, or you can scale this up and basically turn it into a little bit of a workout, okay? So it is between 3 and 5 rounds, 3 reps of each move, but I'm only gonna do 1 round for you, all right? So it starts with 3 deads. Right into 3 goblet cleans or 2-hand dead cleans. Pulling those hips back each time, touching back. 2, 3, okay? Next up, always checking your surroundings when you're gonna be stepping back. It's gonna be reverse lunge with a knee drive, 3 reps. Switching sides, 3 reps. Boom. Locking that stance in, 3 goblet squats. For 2, 1. Finally, prying sumo squat, rocking left to right. Okay, you can go a couple times each way, or you can go for about 30 seconds, okay? I'm not out of breath, I promise. And then from there, standing tall and going right back at it, okay? Wow, I'm not out of breath at all, unreal. So, lower body warm up, 3 reps of each move. Then you can add that 30-second sumo squat at the end, okay? Prying side to side. And mix in right around 3 to 5 rounds. And you'll be ready to rock and roll, all right? Last order of business, my 2 favorite core movements that I like using with this guy, okay? So, Let's go. Polish it off with two of my favorite kettlebell core movements, okay? The first one is called pull through elevators, okay? So, how it rolls. From here, you're gonna keep a neutral spine, lift up those knees, have the bell just beside you, okay? So we're not rounded and those knees aren't coming up here. No, no, no. We're gonna keep it nice and tight. Opposite hand, pulls through, opposite hand, pulls through. Then comes the elevator. You're gonna drag that knee up to the wrist, up the elevator, down the elevator, step it back. Wrist, tricep, wrist, back, pull, pull. Wrist, tricep, wrist, back, wrist, tri, wrist, back. Whew. Those things will smoke you, okay? You ought to do those for time, okay? So say it's a 45-second on, 15 seconds off. You do that a couple times, it's gonna be a bit of a game changer. Next move, kettlebell tosses, okay? So you're gonna be grabbing that bell, thumb, index finger, keeping those elbows in nice and tight, lower back's pressed, feet are up a wall. And from here, taking that bell, make sure you don't let go of that bell. It does not feel good when you drop that bell, I promise. Elbows in tight. You're gonna slowly drop the bell back behind you and toss that bell up. Slowly, nice and controlled behind you, tossing it on up. Tap and go. Tap and go. Okay, so you're using that momentum of the bell and rotating those thumbs at the top, okay? Beautiful. So again, pull through elevators, kettlebell tosses. All right. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of this video. Felt like it's about 35 minutes long, but anyway, like, subscribe to Kettlebell Kings and to Doc's Fitness, okay? New to the YouTube game, so you can jump onto that page. And if you want more workouts and movements like this, okay, you can go to my Instagram, okay? It's docsfitness_NJ. Thanks, and hope everybody has a beautiful day. You.